From change in total assets, I'm gonna deduct change in current assets. That means fixed assets change by that much. All right. So change in net working capital is change in current assets minus change in current liabilities. Net capital spending, change in fixed assets plus depreciation. And OCF is net income plus depreciation plus interest expense. What else do we need? Oh, change in long-term debt. I'm going to do it out of total liabilities first. From that, I'm going to deduct change in current liabilities. And finally, new equity. And I will actually get that on statement of cash flows. It's in financing activities. And let me see. Borrowing, that's dividends. Oh, I have to get that too, but purchase of GE common stock, that would be a -1. They didn't actually raise any so I'm going to put a negative in front of this. Come on, what the hell is going on here? Because I put the negative in the wrong place. And cash dividends. Again, I'm going to get that from statement of cash flows. It's about right here. It says negative, but remember, that's cash outflow for the firm, so I put a negative in front of that. So now we can calculate cash flow to shareholders. All right, now dividends minus net new equity. Actually, no, this number was already negative. Okay. Cash flow to creditors. Interest expense minus change in long-term debt. And cash flow from assets is the sum of the two. I'm going to also calculate it the other way. They're not going to be exactly the same because I kind of ignored some other stuff. But they should be pretty close. Take the operating cash flow, deduct change in net working capital, and deduct net capital spending. One of the reasons they're not the same, there are some one-time items that I kind of ignored. when in doubt, always go with that one, all right? So these guys actually had relatively good year, even though their operating cash flow is relatively small, or they lost money on the net income basis. Always look at this. They basically paid back debt, paid interest and paid back debt, and they also repurchased stocks. Not too much, but they did some. Now let's do some problems, both conceptual and otherwise. I got about, we end at 12:15, right? So about 35 minutes, but I'm gonna finish up about 5 minutes early. I have a dentist appointment at 12:30. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, I actually want to talk about that one. Over the past year, the firm increases current assets and decreases current liabilities. As a result, its net working capital had to what? Situations like that, go back to your definitions. What's the definition of net working capital? Current assets minus current liabilities. So change operator is a linear operator. So change in net working capital is change in current assets minus change in current liabilities. Given all of that, what do you think your answer is? Increase, because current assets have increased and something that is negative has decreased. So you know for sure it had to have increased. For these fill in the blank stuff, depending upon the question, I have multiple answers that are entered as acceptable, but I'm not going to limit myself to that. If Blackboard marks you incorrect, that means probably you misspelled it or you wrote it in a way that I didn't anticipate. I always manually look at those once you're done. If I find it acceptable, you get it. So just because Blackboard told you it's worth 0 does not necessarily mean it is. And don't complain to me before I actually manually grade it. That's just definition. The tax rate, total taxes divided by total taxable income. It is called the average tax rate. We didn't directly cover it, but I have one video that looks at those issues. That's income statement. And by the way, do not miss definitional questions. On a quiz you do at home with no time limit. There is no excuse for that. The market value is the amount of cash the owner hopes to receive if an asset is sold. That is pretty much the definition. So that is true. Cash flow from asset can be defined as cash flow of the shareholders minus net capital spending minus the change in net working capital. That is the source's definition of cash flow from assets. True. All else equal, a decrease in inventory will increase owner's equity. What do you think? We have a Latin term for all else equal. If you took economic classes, you may have heard of it. It's called ceteris paribus or ceteris paribus. I had an econometrics teacher, which is basically fancy stats for econ. This is in econometrics, ceteris is never paribus. Things in life stay the same. Everything else being same, somehow I reduce your inventory. What's going to happen to your owner's equity? Anyone? Why? Almost. Well, think of what is owner's equity, total assets minus total liabilities. What's an inventory? Is it an asset or a liability? It's an asset. So if inventory decreases, your assets are decreasing, everything else being the same, total equity is decreasing. So this would be false.